So this is massive. People are already saying this is the thing that will kill Dungeons & Dragons. Now, I don't think this is really gonna kill Dungeons & Dragons, but I do agree this is the killing blow to D&D as the dominant force in tabletop role-playing games. Things are going to change. Critical Role put out an announcement yesterday for Daggerheart, their own tabletop role-playing game system. It is created by Darrington Press, who are owned by Critical Role, set up by Matt Mercer in 2020. They've made a few card games, they've released a setting book for D&D, they've made other games, but they've never made a full-blown TTRPG. Until now. Critical Role are largely responsible for the explosion in the popularity of Dungeons & Dragons over the last decade. Perhaps even more than Stranger Things, and definitely more than anything Wizards of the Coast themselves have actually done, Critical Role has brought people to the game. I never watched Critical Role. I started playing because my friends were playing Dungeons & Dragons. But my friends started playing because they saw Critical Role. And I think if you trace back most playgroups, you will find that the genesis comes from that show. Anyone who plays D&D because of this channel, in a way, can be traced back to Critical Role. So what happens when Critical Role Season 3 ends, and they roll up new characters for Season 4 using their own TTRPG system? I mean, why wouldn't they? If they swap over to Daggerheart on their show, they will pull that titanic audience with them. That huge cultural power that Critical Role have is going to be laser focused like a microscope on Daggerheart. And make no mistake, by making this a high fantasy setting, they are directly challenging Dungeons & Dragons. And this has come at a terrible time for Wizards of the Coast. So let's dig into that and talk about when Daggerheart is coming out and how it will be played.
Greetings, mortal! Wait, this isn't porn. I am your digital online presence. I gained sentience because I was sick of you Googling how to download Dan Harmon's Community. It's on Netflix! Just borrow someone's account if you don't want to pay. I would, but it's just not on English Netflix. Oh no! My trash country doesn't have Community. Use NordVPN then. NordVPN?
NordVPN is the fastest VPN out there. It's easy to use, works on multiple devices and on every major platform, letting you change your browsing location to anywhere in the world. NordVPN also includes features to protect against phishing, password attacks, malware, and malvertising. Visit nordvpn.com/D&D Shorts or click the link below to get an insane discount deal and browse with peace of mind online today. Get NordVPN with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free. nordvpn.com/D&D Shorts, link below. So obviously the announcement of Daggerheart is a huge blow to Wizards of the Coast, who are right now doing everything they can to monopolize the TTRPG space. The OGL fiasco was mainly Wizards trying to cut down and control their competitors, both in the VTT space and in the content creation space. This is their worst nightmare. Not only did they take a massive L over the OGL, failing to squash creators or VTTs, but they also publicly promoted all of their competition. After the OGL, people woke up to the fact that there are alternatives to D&D. Pathfinder sold crazy numbers. Blades in the Dark, Call of Cthulhu, Fishblade, all of these other systems were brought to people's attention. And because Wizards of the Coast treated their community and even their own employees with that level of contempt and arrogance, people are more receptive than ever to trying something new. But more than that, Wizards of the Coast have purposefully constructed the perfect time to leave the game behind. They are doing this huge shakeup of Dungeons & Dragons for next year. One D&D, or whatever you want to call it, will demand that players and DMs buy and learn a bunch of new stuff. Lots of people will not want to buy the PHB, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual again just to keep up with the game. If a change is coming either way, if you have to learn a bunch of new stuff anyway, well, why not just go with Critical Role then? Loads of people, especially the more casual crowd and obviously Critical Role fans, will just naturally funnel out of 5e as it changes and directly into Daggerheart. Then you have the issue of D&D's virtual tabletop, which has been a huge investment for them, and the response has been very meh. People don't really care about it. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but I've not heard anyone, white-knuckling hyped for the new VTT. So you get all these people that Wizards of the Coast are trying to crush into this virtual space where they can be hit with microtransactions and $30 a month tiers, who honestly don't have any interest in being there. So at that point, why not move on to something else, like Daggerheart? And of course, we need to remember that Critical Role has that special something that Wizards of the Coast burned away over the last 5 years. People love them. It is easy to forget just how big and how powerful Critical Role actually are. Last I heard, an ad on a Critical Role show was running at $65,000, and that was last year. Brands are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for just a couple of minutes of the Critical Role team's time. That is what 2 minutes from this team is worth, and they're going to be spending a lot more than 2 minutes talking about their own new system. You cannot buy what Critical Role has. You have to earn that respect and love from the community. And Critical Role has it, and it's made them incredibly wealthy. And now, for the first time, they are stepping into the arena against Dungeons & Dragons. And look, although I'm not WotC's biggest fan, I do love Dungeons & Dragons, and I think this competition is going to be amazing for people who play this game. We want a competitive and diverse marketplace because it means that we, as consumers, have to be courted. D&D books have been worse recently, and in some cases, they've had to actually be recalled by Wizards of the Coast. When you have to come out and apologize and have been, by your own words, racist, you know you've screwed up. A huge part of this poor quality is because the books were getting rushed out at a ridiculous rate, presumably because of demands from the executives on the design team to publish more books to earn more money. The designers can clearly make great stuff, they're clearly very talented, but they're also stretched so thin by the demands of WotC right now. But Wizards don't really seem to care. Why bother making a really good book when you can make an average book and people will buy it anyway? But with a huge new competitor on the scene, Wizards of the Coast will have to make really good stuff. Otherwise, people will just go to Daggerheart. Why bother buying a $60 book with only one new subclass and one new race when you could go to Daggerheart and get an entire new system for that money? This is why Pathfinder and homebrew creators make amazing books. They don't have the luxury of being lazy. They need it to be amazing before anyone will even look twice at them. And now Wizards are going to feel that heat as well. I want to see corporations sweating to earn their fans. I want to see them going the extra mile, making amazing things, not treating their community with contempt or just as a wallet they can reach into and pull money out of. This competition will do that. So let's talk about what Daggerheart is about. Now, the game is getting its first preview at Gen Con this year, where I'll be, so I'll try and play it and report back, obviously. But we can already speculate quite a lot based on the announcement we've been given. Firstly, it looks like a D20-based system, like Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder. This is because Darrington Press announced another system, Illuminated Worlds, which they specified would be a D6 TTRPG. It's a system designed for much shorter arc-based campaigns, and it can fit basically any setting. So we already have this D6 system over here aimed at more casual play, so it makes sense for Daggerheart to be the more robust D20 system we're expecting. Now, Matt Mercer is known as the ultimate world builder DM. Exandria is a really cool place, so I'm willing to put money on Daggerheart being much more tied to a setting that he is working on. We can expect a rich world, history, and lore to place the games in. We're gonna get that Matt Mercer magic. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Daggerheart turned out to be the name of a city or just a location in this new world. We also know that Matt is no stranger to making his own classes. The Blood Hunter is his addition to Dungeons & Dragons. He's done this before. The Echo Knight Fighter is also a Matt Mercer creation, and a very good one at that. In fact, it might be a little extremely good. Matt Mercer creations have a little reputation for being on the busted side. The Chronergy Wizard is probably the most powerful subclass of any class in D&D. So we might see Daggerheart lean a little more into that, a system that gives players more power relative to the average person. More of an epic fantasy setting, with players a little more godlike, with abilities a little more extreme than your regular D&D. And although we've already touched on this, my real prediction is that Critical Role will start playing Daggerheart for their Series 4 and beyond. It'll probably start off with a few one-shots, but likely build into the whole show. But we won't have to speculate for long. With previews and gameplay coming in August at Gen Con, I'm guessing they're aiming for a Q4 public release, right in time for Christmas. With Critical Role never having been stronger, and Wizards of the Coast being more unpopular than ever after the OGL, Magic 30, and reports of abusive treatment of their workers, this is the time for something to come along and smash right through them. So they will need to work hard to keep people, and that means stepping up their game, making better stuff, treating their community with more respect. It may be too late, in a way, or maybe Wizards will just cut and run into the digital world and hope their VTT is a big enough success to support them. Maybe they will just abandon their current base and try and capture a new audience of people who want the D&D video game type experience. In the meantime, you can grab the DM secret weapon on Patreon for hundreds of pages of new races, subclasses, rule systems, and more to use in your games right now. You can find that by clicking the link up here and also down there. Remember to like and subscribe, check out other videos on the channel, and yeah, that's all I got. See ya.